Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents with me, your host Valerie, and sometime co-hosts Miss Purrington and Mookie the Cat. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy. You can keep up with us on Twitter and Instagram at Comedy Wham or on our Comedy Wham Facebook page. In addition to podcasts, Comedy Wham brings you articles, album reviews, our advice column, Rochelle Takes on Comedy, and we've also got a festivals page, and you can see our FPIA page summarizing all of the contest results at Cap City. And of course, we are best known for our events page for live shows in Austin, Houston, and DFW. If you're a comic in those cities and want your show featured on the calendar, go to the events page and click Submit a Show to complete the short survey. Tag us on your Instagram stories or posts, and we'll share your show promo. Looking for ways to support all these resources we provide? You can donate to Comedy Wham on PayPal, Venmo, or even Patreon. Search for Comedy Wham on Patreon and check out our subscriber perks. Now let's get back to our podcast. Launched in 2016, the Podcast Project brings you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations, and we usually take a detour along the way. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the Austin comedy scene one of the best in the country. If you like this podcast, please rate and review us. Today, I am talking to somebody who hails from Orange County, Los Angeles, recently moved to Austin. He made it on the Austin edition of Kill Tony back in, as if that was ages ago, last year in 2021. In 2022, he reached the finals of the inaugural Austin Comedy Competition, and he also reached the semifinals of the 2022 Cap City Comedy Club Funniest Person in Austin contest. I'm personally not sure why that's not a bigger deal, and why more people aren't making a big deal about it, but I think that's a great accomplishment. And now Comedy Wham presents our guest, Jason Oh my God, let's start that over. And now Comedy Wham presents Jason Rodriguez.
Hello.
Hi,
hey.
welcome.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, not much. Sorry about blundering your name. I mean,
it was so good up until my name. That was crazy.
It's because I was ad-libbing I'm not sure why people aren't making a bigger deal. If I just stick to my script, I can get through that whole thing.
Nah, you had to throw that in there. You had to say that.
Yeah. We were talking before I hit record that I'm a mathematician by trade, and so I love to analyze things. And I really don't know why. I have suspicions of why a bigger deal isn't made of the fact that you made it to the Cap City FPIA semifinals, and then you also made it to the finals of the Austin Comedy Competition. Do you want to read my mind? I mean, you're new to the scene, so you may not have all this insight.
I mean, I don't really. I didn't really think it was a big deal until you said something. Now I'm like, I guess so. I guess I'm the only one to do that. Because some of the guys that made it in the finals of the Austin Comedy Competition, they didn't even make the first round of FPIA.
Yeah. And
then guys that made it all the way to FPIA, the finals, didn't even make the first round of the other competition. So it's weird how
it is weird.
Those two, I don't even understand how that happens. But I don't know. It's cool that I got far in both, but I didn't think much of it, honestly.
And now you're going to be thinking about, man.
Yeah, I'm so in my head now. Honestly, I am. Why do I deserve something? Do I deserve more of anything?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. We'll get into it in a little bit, but I actually have an official icebreaker question. Oh, okay. And that is one word to describe your past.
My past? Mm-hmm. Boring. Not a lot going on.
But you're from L.A.
Yeah,
you're from the OC.
Right. I like how you said that. Orange County, Los Angeles. That's it's two different counties. I know. But that's kind of where I am from.
I mean, when you're from not California, it's all the same.
Yeah, pretty much. I get that. But I say technically I'm from LA, but I'm on the edge of the county, near Long Beach, but not in Long Beach, and it borders Orange County. Okay. And I have a lot of family that's from Orange County, so I'm in this weird brackish waters of both of those areas. Uh-huh. So it's I'm not really. There's nothing there much really. It's just suburbs, and it's just boring.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. And so that's your boring.
A little bit.
Growing up, was comedy something that was a part of your life in any way, either TV, movies, family?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I watched a lot of TV as a kid. I remember Jim Carrey was the first, like, it wasn't a stand-up, it was his movies that I was really into.
Yeah.
And then The Simpsons, I was just consumed by it, so I was obsessed with The Simpsons.
Wow.
I loved it so much. And then I think I got into stand-up maybe like in middle school, more so in middle school. This was all the Comedy Central presents. Like, I watched every single one. And then I think it wasn't until I got, like, in my 20s, I was like, oh, I want to do this. I think I can. Yeah.
What was it that made it so obsessive for you in middle school that you wanted to watch every single Comedy Central special?
I don't even know. I don't even think I understood the jokes. I don't even think, like, some of it was so over my head. But I remember I watched, I think it was like 7th or 8th grade, I watched Mike Birbiglia on his Comedy Central, his 30. And he had this bit about, I think it's like Wiffle Ball Tony. And it was like an allegory for George Bush. And when I made that connection in my head, I was like, oh. I felt like special. Like, I was like, oh, I get what he's doing. And I was like, oh, there's like a deeper thing comics are doing on stage. And I was like, oh, like, I don't know. Then I kind of understood jokes more. And that was a big click in my head.
Yeah. That's always the thing, right? With comics. It's like you make the audience feel like they're the smartest person for figuring out what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Or saying what they're thinking in different ways. Like, oh, I never thought of that. That stuff always got to me. And I think I just liked attention. And I was like, oh, I like the way they have attention.
Yeah.
I like the way they're performing. And I was like, I kind of want something like that.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that was part of it. I don't really know.
Yeah. I'll say that, again, having only watched you perform twice, you seem like a very shy, demure personality. So tell me more about you wanting that attention.
Oh, yeah. I was like classic. Again, in middle school and high school, I wanted to be the cool kid, but I didn't want to try. Like I wanted everyone to like me, but I didn't want to talk to anybody.
Okay.
It's like I don't know. It was confusing for me because I was like very scared to talk to people, but I wanted to be like the cool, funny guy so much. But I had a small group of friends, and I was like the funny guy in that group because I was like confident around them. But everyone else, like anyone who wasn't in that group, I was like just quiet around and just real timid to talk to.
Yeah.
And I'm still like that. Like I'm still very like I don't need to. I don't know if I don't really know you, it's gonna be hard for me to start a conversation.
And that's got to be tough when you move from your home to a brand new environment.
Well, the comedy helps. I mean, the cool thing about, I think I moved here at the right time. It was June 2021, and everyone else moved here too.
Right.
So everyone needed friends.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And like needed to understand the environment we're in. And everyone was like really nice at that time. Everyone was like really friendly and wanted to link up and like you see someone do good at an open mic, you go up to them and talk. Like it was very communal at that time. I don't think it's like that as much anymore.
Oh, we're gonna have to dig into that.
Yeah. Well, now it's like that's like a year and a half ago. So like now a lot of friendships and a lot of cliques and a lot of things have been founded.
Yeah.
And there's a pattern now. There's a rhythm everyone's in, and anyone who's new jumping into it, you kind of get lost in it.
Right.
It's like, oh, you got to prove yourself now.
Right.
Before it was like you didn't have to prove yourself. You just showed up in an open mic. People will talk to you. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, you got to be around a little longer.
Yeah.
Which I think is sort of a good thing.
Yeah.
You kind of need that.
Yeah. Did you start stand-up? Well, yes, you must have. But tell me about your start in stand-up and what finally actually pushed you to start stand-up.
I think it was, I got really obsessed with podcasts. I got really into, I listened to Mark Maron a lot, and then, Rogan, and I think Bert Kreischer's. But listening to Maron and Rogan talk to guys about, like, the road and the lifestyle of it, I was like, it made it seem, like, I romanticized it in my head a lot. And then Maron, the way he was, like, angry and sad, I was like, oh, I relate to this. And it's like,
Really?
if he can do that, I can do that. Like, I think I can do it, too.
Yeah.
And that's what made me, like, think about it more. And then I started taking steps. And one of my buddies, Myron, he told me about this open mic in Long Beach that, like, his coworker went to or something. It's like this coffee shop. And I was like, okay, I think that might be the one. And then, started there, met a bunch of people. It was, like, the Long Beach comedy scene. And it was, it was crazy.
What was that first time like?
Not bad.
Yeah?
It was actually not bad.
Yeah?
I forgot all my jokes. I left them in the car.
Oh, no.
Because I parked really far, and I had to run there, and I was, like, super nervous. And I just forgot pretty much everything. And I riffed a lot of it, and it was like okay. And it was like maybe like 6 or 7 like college students just like studying at this coffee shop. And it was like one guy like heckled me. I had like a return for it that was like okay, and it was like I got a laugh. So it was not a bad set.
Yeah.
And I think I needed that just to continue. Because if it was like just a terrible bomb, I probably would have never continued doing it.
Oh no.
Yeah. But I remember I think it was like the third or fourth time. It was like a real bomb, like a complete silence, and it like hurt so much. I was like, oh, this is it. Like I'm gonna have to do this a lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
but at least you thought that way, as opposed to, okay, that's it. It was a nice little experiment.
Right. Well, that's the thing of like the help with podcasts, because they were just, it's almost like, because I always made fun of people that read comedy books. I was like, why are you reading those? Why are you doing? Then I realized like, I listened to like hundreds of hours of podcasts.
You're just doing audio lessons.
It's the same thing, because they're just talking about like when they started and like bombing and just eating it and hanging out and like the things you have to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's the things I have to do. It just takes time.
That's a good point. I actually hadn't thought too much about it, that you can actually learn about the business of comedy from those podcasts.
Yeah, at least the process. Kill Tony too. Kill Tony was the big one, because I remember I really wanted to do it, but when I listened to Kill Tony and hearing open micers for the first time, I was like, oh, that's the bar? Like that's how low it is? Like, okay, I can definitely do it.
Yeah.
I can at least try.
Yeah. How far did you feel like you got when you were doing comedy in Long Beach, Orange County, LA?
I was really...
Oh, and actually, let's go back. When was that first open mic? What year?
Oh, it was late 2016, October 2016.
Okay. All right.
It was like a week after my birthday, and Trump was like getting elected, essentially. Okay. I remember the third time I did stand-up was election night.
Oh, gosh.
The night he won.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh, yikes.
It was a trip. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, especially in California.
Yeah. And it's such a weird like time to start doing comedy, because I remember doing a couple of mics before he got elected, and people were doing Trump jokes, and it was like whatever. And then after he won, it was like way more Trump jokes in the open mic scene, and it was exhausting. It was terrible. It was like most of my run in comedy, even like through the pandemic, it was just like Trump was the thing people talked about the most, and it made me just hate it so much. I couldn't hear Trump impressions. I got so sick of it.
Because your comedy is more like observational, or what things going on in your life. Yeah,
I don't really want to like talk like the president sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, like every single one has. Like
Right.
I get it. Like
yeah.
What's there to talk about, really?
So now let's go back, and so you started off in 2016. What happens up until June 21? March 2020.
Yeah, really. Yeah. So what happened? I think I was doing open mics in like Long Beach and Orange County, because I was afraid to go to LA.
Yeah.
Like I was close to LA, and I could have went, but I was afraid. Like I'm too new. I don't think I'm ready. And I think in hindsight, that was a good move on my part, because a lot of those guys that do start in LA kind of get swamped in the open mic scene and don't really get out as well.
Yeah.
And in Orange County, there's just so many open mics with people. Like people will listen to like a lot of brewery shows and little brewery mics, and there's like a real audience there. And every time I went to LA, it was just comics, and then I had to like pay to get on. It was terrible. So I was like, well, let me just do this down here in front of real people, and I'll try to get better that way. And I think I was a year in, a comedy club opened in Huntington Beach, and my friend who like started 3 months after me, he started working there, eventually became the manager.
Oh, wow.
He brought me on, and then I became the door guy. So it was like me and him kind of were just running this club.
Wow.
It was crazy, yeah.
Wow.
The guy that opened it was like some dude who like features on the road for someone, and then he just like, he's on the road. He's like, I can't like be here every weekend. So he got my buddy Kenny to like just sort of manage it without like the full title yet.
Yeah.
And then I was like one of the first door guys, and it was just me and him having this club. We're like about a year into comedy, and we're running a club. It's crazy. It was stupid. I think about that all the time. It's like, how stupid was that?
And I'm sorry to say this, but you're not exactly the most intimidating looking door guy.
No.
That I can imagine.
No, not at all. No. I had to learn to be like real tough with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because people would heckle or just not want to sit like near the stage. So I had to like really talk people into stuff. It taught me a lot of social skills and just to be rude to people. Like, God, that was a wild time.
Yeah.
And we worked there, up until the pandemic. Like, I got to just get guest spots early on, shows I shouldn't have been on, I was not ready for. And eventually, me and him just got better through that. And I started doing hosting gigs there a lot, and then doing longer sets on the weekends eventually over the course of a couple years. And that was just a wild time.
Yeah.
It was like high school. We just ran a place.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
That is pretty crazy. What's an example of you getting a show that you don't think you were ready for, or a guest spot that you weren't ready for?
Oh, just a lot. I remember I did 5 minutes. Kyle Kinane came by, and this was I think January 2018, like a year and a half in, I think. And he came down. He did 2 shows, and I got a guest spot in the second show. It's like a sold out. It's a pretty tight room. It's like 160 people in this small room.
Okay.
And I got to do 5 minutes, and it's just I've listened back to that set not long ago, and it's just like those jokes suck so much. I did well. I did do well. But looking back, I was like, man, they really threw me one. They really were just like, hey, yeah, you can do this.
Yeah.
I didn't need to.
Did you get any notes from Kyle?
No.
No?
No, he did not watch my set.
Oh, okay.
He did. I did the thing like right before I went on. I was like, hey man, like I'm a really big fan. I'm a really big fan of yours. And he's like, all right, cool. and then I remember I came off stage, and he's coming out of the green room. He's like, oh hey man, yeah, good stuff, and gave me like kind of like a lazy fist bump.
Yeah.
But then a year later, he came back again, and then I got to host for him.
Ah.
And I remember like in my head, the guest spot, the 5 minute guest spot was like a big deal. And then when they were like, oh, you want to host for him? I was like, yeah, sure. I didn't like think about it much until like right before the show. I was like, oh, a year ago, I was like overwhelmed with this guest spot. I was like, now I get to host for him. I'm going to bring him on stage. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then, after a year, I've gotten much better. I did like a full set in front of him, full 10 minutes going on. I was the door guy that night too. So I sat the whole room. Yeah, I sat the whole room. I sat a sold out room, met every single person. And then went up and was like, hey guys, I would always do the rules and be like, and your first comic is me. Like, and I just had to start. That was crazy. That was a big learning experience too. But he got to see me then. And then when I got off stage, he was just like, hey, that was really good. And they gave me like a handshake.
Like he's graduated from the
exactly. Exactly, yeah. It was nice. That was like a big, anytime I felt really low in comedy, I think about that. I'm like, oh, he thought I was funny. He thought I had a good set that night. And I was like, that means a lot.
Yeah.
He's a really nice guy too. He's really cool.
Yeah. So at that point, or by 2020, early 2020, what was your thinking about you as a comic?
Oh man.
And where you were going to go and what you were going to accomplish. And
yeah, like beginning of 2020, right before March, I was over Orange County. I feel like I hit a ceiling. Like I was like a guy in the scene. It's really easy to become the guy in the scene in Orange County. It's like
what does that mean?
Like like I did all the shows. I did everything there. There's only so many shows. I did all of them.
Yeah.
I'm like I have a good rotation. I'm a guy at this club. I get to do like 15 minutes every Saturday on the late shows. I was like, there's nothing more here, and I was like, I need to go out. I need to go somewhere, and I started going to the Comedy Store every Monday. Go to sign up for Potluck, sign up for Kill Tony. I was thinking like, okay, now I need to start like going other places. Maybe do the road a little bit, go up Northern California, just check stuff out. But I really wanted to go to LA more. That was the main thing. I was like, I want to get in the store. I want to start that process. Yeah. That long 10-year process of trying to become a regular at the store. Yeah. And I actually got on Potluck 2 weeks before the pandemic started.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I got on. I was like number 7. I was like in the middle of the list. It was dope. It was a good set. I was like a little under my time, but it was good. And like the whole, like, cause the cool thing about Potluck, have you been to the Comedy Store?
I have.
Yeah. So like, the cool thing about Potluck is all the, there's like a couple rows that are like the actual people, but everyone who signed up, all the comics hang out in the back on the sides. So like you're like auditioning for the club, you're trying to kill in front of these people, and you're like showing off to the scene. And luckily I was like, oh, all these comics got to see me and they saw me do well. And I was like, this is great. Yeah. This is good. And then the pandemic happened, and I was like, fuck. I was like, that was the beginning of the process, you know? Yeah. So yeah, and then when everything was closed down, I was like, I gotta really make a move. I gotta do something.
Because your identity at that point was fully, I'm comedy dude.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know. I feel like everyone kind of went through this during the pandemic of like, who am I? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I went through that too. Like I don't know, around like April or May, I was like, do I need comedy? Do I need to do this? Should I do this? And then as time went on, I was like, yeah, I do. Yeah, because I was like so depressed. I was so sad. It was a bummer. It was horrible. Good now though. I'm great now. Yeah.
You together and with it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So March hits. You're depressed. You're going through an identity crisis, and what do you like? I mean, California and New York were both very conservative. Is not. It's the word that I use to describe. They went like hardcore into safety measures. Unlike the wild, wild west of Texas.
Yeah.
Which is why we have this situation that we have with such an influx, and along with another high-profile person moving.
Yeah, that's a
to
big part of
Austin.
it.
But did you feel like you could take advantage of the outdoor shows and those things to try to keep your...
No, because I don't know. In LA, it was like, if you weren't something already, you're not getting anything.
Huh.
Like all the cool outdoor shows, you're not getting any of it unless you're like a guy.
Yeah.
But
you're a guy.
In Orange County, I was a guy, but nothing was happening in Orange County.
Got it.
There was nothing. There's like, I think I did like 1 or 2 shows, and it was like a couple open mics were going on, and that was it. And then in LA, I was like, no one knew me. I wasn't anything.
Yeah.
And so if I wanted to do stand-up, I had to go to these parking lots or these parks or the beach and do these stupid fucking open mics. And sometimes like pay like $5. $5 still jokes in the sand. It was crazy.
It's so funny to hear you like diss on this because, I mean, a park, a beach, those sound really wonderful.
Not for comedy. The sun's out. It's daytime. How do you compete with the sun? It's a star. Like literally, it was terrible. I just couldn't do it.
Okay, so at this point, 2020, you're in comedy for close to 4 years. You're not producing shows. You're not making stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm never that guy. I'm never like.
There's some people that aren't. There's some people that just can't. Yeah.
I can't do it. I produced one show out here, and it was tough. I was like, I didn't like it. I didn't like barking, dealing with people, and barely getting paid. I was like, this is not fun.
Let somebody else do it.
Yeah, honestly, I don't have the brain for it. I'm not a business guy. I'm really bad at that.
Yeah.
I guess I could have done that then, but I don't know. I don't have that in me.
Okay, so. How long before? Well, we know that June 21 is the day you packed up your bags, but when did you decide? Yeah, I'm gonna go.
March 2021. I visited. I visited for 2 weeks. So I was like, I gotta check this out. I gotta see what's going on.
And why? Is it because of?
Oh yeah, Rogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all he like pushed the first domino.
Yeah.
I mean, like when he went, and then I heard a lot of other people going, and I don't remember exactly who. I don't think I had talked to anyone that was there or anything, but I kept hearing about it. There was talk about this place being the place, and it's open, and it's like, in March 2021, in California, everything's dead.
Yeah.
It's terrible, and so I was like, okay, I should at least check it out. I didn't know anybody. I went, got an Airbnb. I had a bunch of money saved up from like unemployment. I was like, let me check it out, and it was just insane. I think March 2021 it was the week that Abbott's mask ban was lifted.
Oh.
Where like he told all businesses do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Like that was that week, the first week of that,
gosh.
and it was insane. Cause I've been cooped up for a year.
Yeah.
For a whole year, I've been cooped up. It can't be around people, and I literally like I got off the plane, went to my Airbnb, took an Uber to 6th Street. And I was like, what the fuck is it? I was terrified. It was crazy. I went up at I did Shakespeare's open mic, and it just bombed. I bombed so hard, but I was like, this is cool. And then it felt alive. It was so much fun. And I met people. And at that time, too, everyone was like still hungry for friendships.
Yeah.
And I went around and met people. I got a spot on a bar show right before I left. Brittany Ledesma, before I left, she was like, "Hey, next time you're in town, let me know. I'll get you a spot on the show." And I was like, in my head, I was like, "Okay, that's 2 spots like guaranteed." I was like, "That's something. Yeah. I'm already getting something here." And one other thing that kind of convinced me like I should probably make the move was everyone was white. I was like, "Oh, I stand out."
Oh.
I was like, I'm a little different than everyone else.
You are a smart businessman.
I guess that. Yeah, I can recognize that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, my comedy's not extravagant or anything that different, but I was like, but I have a slightly different perspective than most of the comics here.
You do have a white issue.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like everywhere. It's fine, whatever. But Austin in general is mostly just white people.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. I'm taking advantage of it. I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I don't care. And I was like, that I can stand out here. This might be the best place to do it.
Had you considered any other scenes? I mean, I don't know what other scenes might have been as open as we are.
Before the pandemic, I wanted to go to New York. I was thinking New York might be the place because I was always like, everyone says like that's like Mecca.
Yeah.
You just get up as much as you want, and it's like a real comedy. Like it really develops like really good comics. And those are like my favorites are from New York. So I was thinking that, and then as the pandemic happened, I was like, I can't afford New York.
It was even worse. Well, not only could you not afford it, but the comedy scene just may have been even worse than what was happening in California.
Possibly, yeah. That's what I heard. And Austin was at the time it was open. It was cheaper, and there's a lot of spots.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stage time. It was fun. I was doing like 4 or 5 mics a night, and I was like, I feel like a comic again.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to be here.
Yeah.
This is what I've always wanted to do. Just a lot of comedy. And I was like, this is the best place for me.
And none of your comedy friends?
And they couldn't do it.
Along?
No, they couldn't. That was a bummer. I had to say bye to a lot of my friends because they're in different places.
Sure.
You know, they have obligations there, family, girlfriends, whatever. And it was kind of a bummer. But it was it is what it is.
Yeah.
They visit every now and then. That's just always great.
Well, that's good.
I show them around, and I try to convince them, like, hey, man, just come here. Just move here. Just do it. Like,
Okay. Let's do our little card break here. So this is from a card game called Where Should We Begin? Our web guru, Richard Goodwin, gifted me this card, and I've been using it in the middle of episodes. So you've got 2 cards in front of you. Pick one, and I will read it to you, and you'll answer the open-ended question.
okay.
All right. Oh, this should be good. A story I've told one too many times.
I guess the story about my ex. I've told that so many times. So many. It kind of relates to all this, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was dating a girl before I moved out here. We lived together. And we started dating. Well, we dated for a year, and then we broke up for a year, and then we got back together the beginning of the pandemic.
Oh, boy.
It was one of those. Yeah. She hit me out, and I was thinking, like, I'm a little part of it. I mean, like, I did miss her, and I did really miss her, and I was like, oh, I could probably, like, have a second chance. Yeah. And also, I was like, I think I need to be around someone for this. I think I need someone. So we got back together in the pandemic, and we stayed together for a year. We were together while I visited. I came back, and I told her we were having this conversation over brunch, and I was like, I don't think LA's it for me. And she's like, you want to move, don't you? And I was like, yeah. She's like, I can't go. And then we had like a 2-week notice on our relationship, which was crazy.
That is weird.
It was insane. It was insane.
So weird.
It was a bummer. It was so sad.
Yeah.
But I was like, I had to go. And she's an artist too, so she understood. And but every time we got into bed, I was like, okay, this is one of the last times. This is one of the last times to be next to it. Oh, it was so brutal. It was heavy.
Because in that time that you got back together, you were like, yeah, this is solid. This is good.
Yeah, this is good. I mean,
man.
I know. And then when she took me to the airport too.
Oh, God. Jason.
It was brutal. It's heavy. It's La La Land, really. It's that movie. And but when I got to Texas, and we stayed cool. Like, we were both supportive of each other. And I remember we were talking on FaceTime. It was like my 3rd day in town. And we were like, let's do long distance. Let's try it. Let's try this. Yeah. So we tried to do it. We stayed together for a couple months. And in August, she was going to come visit before the lease was up to officially move here. She just come visit, check out the town. We haven't seen each other, have a weekend together.
Yeah.
And then 2 days before she came and visit, she'd FaceTime me, and she told me she got a job for Burger Records making art for like these indie artists, and she has to stay in California for it. This is 2 days before she was coming to visit. Oh. And I was like, oh, shit. I was like, so it's over. She's like, yeah. And it's like, so we had this one last weekend together in Austin.
God.
And it was a great time. It was a great weekend. Yeah. It was a great weekend. We were together. It was fun. And then we were really honest with each other. I remember we had an argument at one point, which is kind of like ridiculous, honestly. It's like, we're breaking up. Yeah. It's already it's over. Why are we arguing about anything? We had a quick argument, and it settled. And then we were just, it was like one of those where then you're very honest with each other. Uh-huh. And she was telling me, because I remember when we first FaceTimed to like confirm long distance, I told her, I was like, hey, comedy's coming first. Like, I moved here for a reason. Yeah. I did intend to leave you to do comedy. So it's like, that's taking the first priority. And she was like, oh, yeah, for sure, definitely. And then after our argument, when she was here, she was like, you know what, when you said that, I didn't like it. I was like, oh. I was like, well, thank you for being honest now.
Yeah.
Because now it's like over. Thank you for being real. Because if you did move here and then I'm putting comedy before you, it's not gonna. It would just be horrible.
Right.
Like you moved to this town you don't like, and you're away from everyone, and now I'm like not even in your life that much. Like it'd been awful. And that was like a great conversation we had. We were very honest, and then it was like a good send off.
Yeah.
And and that was it. That was the end of it.
I watched your episode on the William Montgomery show, and I usually don't ask somebody to tell their joke, but he asked you to tell your gaslighting joke, and I'm not going to ask you to tell it because it's so good and should be enjoyed, fresh by anybody who hasn't seen you live. Is she the origin, or is that just? Yeah,
in a way, yeah. I mean, that joke is just like kind of like a pretend, like just it's like more of a shock joke, if anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's the one who taught me about gaslighting, and it was very much in my head.
Yeah.
Like and like those dynamics of men and women. She's definitely like anytime I have a joke about relationships, she's like the origin of it all.
Yeah.
Like she's like taught me a lot about that. Called me out on shit and stuff. And I was just like, okay. So yeah, in a way, she's definitely called me out on gaslighting. So yeah, I guess she is the reason that joke exists.
Well, she sounds like a great person. I'm sorry that,
It's fine. We're all good now. This is like a long time ago anyway. It's fine.
Yeah.
She's killing it. She's good. She was like...
Sounds like a cool gig she got.
She's 100... Yeah, she's good. She's on her own. She makes art and she sells it and she like has her own apartment. So she's like... She's making it.
Yeah.
She's winning.
Yeah, in
she's
LA,
good.
if you can have your own apartment, that's...
It's huge. It's huge, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So your girlfriend is somebody you tell a lot of stories about. Let's see what I have to answer.
I've forgotten how to.
Oh my God! Everything. I'm old.
Really? How old are you?
I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
You don't ask.
You're on a podcast.
I know.
This is like, no one's even looking at you.
I know, but everybody who knows me, I don't tell my age. Well, if you ask my son, I forgot how to have fun, and yet I'm all into this comedy scene. So.
You seem fun. You got a card game going on.
I know, right? Chocolates and Harry Potter and this candle, you probably have no idea what the hell this is.
Yeah, who is that?
Okay, so this is the Queen, LaShonda Lester, who, if you want to know anything about the history of Austin comedy, you have to know LaShonda Lester.
I know her, yeah.
She won the 2017, I think it was 17. God, I should know this by heart. 2017 Funniest Person in Austin. She, at the time, was struggling with medical bills because she had to go through dialysis on a regular basis. We lost her suddenly, after she had won, and a lot of people from the classic comedy scene in Austin will often say, LaShonda would have not liked this, or would have liked this, or would have said this. She was basically the kind of person that would just tell you you're fucking up.
Wow.
Get your shit straight.
Oh, wow.
And she was maternal in that way.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
Damn, what a loss.
So, now I am starting to bring this out, especially with new comics, because I want new comics to know that, A, we had a comedy scene before Rogan showed up, and B, to know some of, the big characters in the scene before.
Wow, what a trip.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I've heard legend about her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's definitely a legend. And obviously, she gets a candle.
That's great. Where'd you find that? Did you make it?
No. There's a place called Blue Genie Art Bazaar. It's near the ACC campus that's up by Highland area. And every year around Christmas time, they have, local artists sell their stuff for Christmas. And this company, Illuminidal, they do these custom candles. So you find everything from superhero characters, but every once in a while they'll do a hyper-local
That's awesome.
Person. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, so that adds to the
respect
coolness.
That.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Good
so there you go. Forgot how to have fun.
You seem fun.
Thank you.
You seem like a fun person. Yeah, all these knickknacks lying around.
I know, right?
With stories behind them and stuff.
Yeah, they're pretty much, It is kind of chaotic in here. Okay, let's get back to Jason. Okay, so you have a really successful like visit when you come to Austin, and then when you officially move, what's your first couple of weeks like?
Real rough, because the visit was like, it's a visit. You're on vacation. You're having fun. You're just goofing off.
Yeah.
And then when I moved here, I was like, I need money. I need a job, and it was pretty intense, and it was definitely less fun, but it was more wild. And honestly, like at that time, it was, right after the vaccines were like everywhere, and right before Delta, the first variant, and like it felt over. It felt like a big party. It was Pride Month. It was insane. It was wild. I partied so much when I moved here. I partied way too much. I had to like course correct myself so many times. Like, and it was like definitely a grind. It was definitely a grind because I was like, I had to restart.
Yeah.
I had to restart two things. Like I had to like relearn how to do comedy because I wasn't like in it for like a year and a half, and then I had to just show off to everyone. I had to prove myself to everybody, and it was real tough. It's real hard on the ego. Like especially like I've seen guys that were like, feature level comics like working at a club back home before the pandemic, and then they moved here, and it's like they don't want to do mics again.
Yeah.
They don't want to go through it, and so they kind of just like get whatever shows they do, and then just kind of hang in the background a lot. And I saw that, and I was like, well, I need to do the mics. Like I'm not, and I already knew I was nothing.
Yeah.
Back home, I was just like a guy who worked at a club and got spots there, but I wasn't anything in LA, like the big real scene.
Right.
So I knew I was like, I gotta show off. I gotta prove myself. And it took a lot of work. It wasn't until Kill Tony that like everyone like knew who I was.
Yeah.
And that helped me so much.
Yeah.
That helped a lot.
So what I noticed from watching that, by the way, if we go to your YouTube channel, you can see the joke, and you can see the gaslighting joke there as well. But what I'm always interested in from Kill Tony clips is I want to know about the interview. I want to watch the interview after. And you have it clipped. So how was the interview?
The interview was funny because I talked about moving here. I talked about having a girlfriend. I was like, I have this girlfriend. We were long distance, and then Tony like made a joke about that, like, oh, good luck with that. And then I was like, yeah. And then the episode came out 2 weeks later, and then later that week is the conversation I had with her, where it was like, I got a job in California, and I was like, wow, it was crazy. Like the episode came out where I'm like, yeah, I have this girl back in California, I love her, and then it's like it's over. It ended. By the time it came out, the relationship was over. It's hilarious.
Oh gosh.
That was wild.
And I used to religiously listen to Kill Tony, and I figured out like he seems really, really mean to the comics, but if you kind of get past and a lot of it is just his tone of voice and the way he speaks, but if you actually listen to his words, he is actually trying to coach people. What kind of interaction were you having with him? Was he like coaching you? Was he like, dude, you're great? I saw the way your clip is. I think it's David Lucas, right? He's in the background. He's kind of stone faced, so you can't read anything from him. But I couldn't see Tony or Red Band.
Right.
So what flavor of Tony did you get afterwards?
He was all positive.
Yeah.
Very positive. I mean, like there was like roasts and stuff, but it was like nothing bad. He set up like James Franco, which is like not. He said he's like James Franco without the allegations or something like that, and I was like, it's a good thing to be. Like, nothing was really bad at all.
Yeah.
And I think he was a little annoyed because I don't really have like hobbies or anything like that. I don't have much of a. That's what I've always been afraid of for the interview with Kill Tony is to like talk about myself. I was like, it's not. I do comedy. It's like about it. I'm kind of boring. Like, but the girlfriend thing, he like harped on that a lot, and that was fun. But it was nothing was really negative at all, and that's what helped a lot. I feel like because that getting off in the whole scene, seeing that is like, okay, that's great. This guy has jokes. Yeah. Because before, for like a month, I'm just a guy at open mics, and then I go up in front of like a real audience, and like I got big laughs, and I was like, that's what you need to show off with. Right. It helps.
So did you get the Kill Tony bump after that? Did you get picked for the secret show?
Nope. Did not.
Damn it.
Did not. Got a little chip on my shoulder for that one. Which is fine. At this point, it really doesn't matter. But for a long time, I was like holding a grudge. It's like, why didn't I get secret show? But it's like, whatever.
So what are some of the cool shows that you've gotten to do?
I think a lot of them. I got the Filthy Show is always a wild one at Creek in the Caves. Adam Lucky's, that one's dope. I just hosted at Cap this weekend.
Really? That's awesome.
It was my first time working with that club, and it was great.
Yeah.
They run a tight ship. It was so much. It was the red room upstairs, tiny little room, tiny stage. People are right on top of you. Oh God, I loved it so much. That's like been probably like the highest achievement I feel like I've earned in this town. Like
it's a big deal.
A real weekend at a club is dope.
Yeah.
Is great.
Yeah. And so, history lesson. So Cap City has 30 plus year history, but you've got Creek who showed up in early 21. Mm-hmm. You've got Vulcan that showed up, in the mayhem of the Wild Wild West. Velveeta Room, a smaller room. So you have, this varied history. And Cap City was officially shut down until Helium bought them. And when they came back, it was kind of uncertain what they would come back to because the scene had changed so much with the Creek and the Vulcan or Big Laugh. And it's kind of interesting to see this new guard of comics get to see what that club is like and what it's like to run the tight ship. And
well, this is like a real franchise club. This is like real deal. You get the big headliners there, big showroom. It's like it's the real stuff.
Yeah.
Where Creek was more of the comics playhouse, which is the safe place for you to get into some debauchery and do some crazy stuff on stage. And then Vulcan is pretty much Rogan's home right now. So just different vibes.
Yeah.
Just real different vibes. And then Cap is the place now.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the real deal. You get normal people. It's almost like doing the road kind of. Just actual people are there.
Yeah. I'm so happy to hear that as a semifinalist in FPIA, because that's why you got noticed, is as a finalist, you got noticed enough that they invited you to host, because that's a trial run, and if you did great, then you're going to get other opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole point of the contest, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew I'm not going to win. But if I can get a hosting, if I can get any kind of work, that's all I want.
Yeah.
That's winning to me.
Yeah. And
I'm glad I'm getting that. Hopefully it becomes a regular thing. I get in their rotation. That'd be great.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy for you. So, with all these clubs, you could be a door guy again.
It's possible. I thought about it, A lot of the open micers, all of us were all talking about who's the door guys at Rogan's Club, because you got the booker from the store who's going to work there. You got the guy who managed the store is going to work there. Rogan is a store guy. It's this might be our store kind of place. Yeah. And it's who's going to be the door guys? And it's I don't know if I want to do. I can't say no. I can't say no to anything. But it's just do I want that life again?
But there's other doors for you to be the door guy at.
True.
You got Cap, you got Velveeta. Well, no, you can't touch Velveeta Room. Their door guy is an institution.
Oh, that guy. Michael. Yeah, he's the grass.
Creek. I don't know about their door guy.
Creek, I tried to be a door guy there.
Oh, yeah?
And they were actually, we're not hiring comics anymore.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which is a common thing now. Other clubs are just we don't.
You
guys are just hanging out too much and wanting to meet the headliners and partying and stuff. And I was that makes sense.
Yeah, that's how you, sorry to lay some business speak, but that's how you pay them a little bit less because they're getting some access.
True. Exactly. So, yeah.
Oh, well.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm so happy for you. Okay, so now we can get into this. You made the semis of FPIA, and what was that? Because was that your ever first competition?
Yeah.
And...
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
Did you... Having worked at your club that had 160 seats, and now you've got this room that has 300 plus seats. Maybe they weren't all filled, but how was that experience? It
was cool. I mean, I was coming up, that's pretty much where I started, was this normal club, which is normal ass Huntington Beach people, just average people. And I was okay, I know how to work those audiences pretty well, so the Cap wasn't super intimidating.
Yeah.
And that first round, I was pretty present. I was really in the pocket. I went on second. It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
And in the second round, I was more nervous. I was definitely more nervous, and I was a little more. I wasn't as present as I wanted to be. My rhythm was a little different.
Yeah.
The timing was off, and I was thinking too much about the light where it was, and it was a lot. I was more in my head the second round, which was I kind of kick myself for. But it was still like I remember that first one. I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! Like the big room. It's so cool."
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And in the middle of that, I guess it's Vulcan, right? That kind of secretly ran it. I don't know what the story is.
The other competition?
The Austin Comedy Competition.
It was as Adam Lucky and a couple other like big producers in town.
Yeah.
And it was the cool thing about that one was it was at different venues each round.
That's
Yeah.
right.
The first was in Creek, and then I think the second was in the ballroom. So it used to be Spider House.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third was back at Creek, and then the end was Vulcan.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool to see because it was like, oh, now you're getting different audiences.
Yeah.
Because the Creek audience is different from a Vulcan audience, and they're both different from a Spider House audience. Because you're getting like college kids and hipper people there,
Yeah.
Alongside like Vulcan, which is like tourists and like just younger people. Maybe they got more money. It's just different. It's
Yeah.
a different crowd. It was fun.
Yeah.
That was a cool experience.
So that's almost a bigger challenge because you've got to impress those different audiences.
Yeah, you got to kill for different people, and I thought that would made it more interesting.
And how many times did you go out before the finals night?
What do you mean?
Like
How many rounds?
How many rounds?
I think there was 3 rounds before the finals. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it was split up. It was a longer contest than the other one, and each one was judged differently too, which I thought was interesting. The first one is like I remember the first round, which I didn't know until I think Sam Castillo.
Yeah.
He was on before me. He was the first comic. I was the second, and he does his set. It's like 4 minutes, and he starts walking off stage. He's like coming at me through that curtain, and then I see Lucas, the host. He pulls him back. He's like, oh, wait. And then he goes back on, and then the judges are like deconstructing his set to his face. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
That is so weird.
I was like, oh, I don't like that. Oh, man. I didn't. And I was like, and for me, I was like, okay, I got to this, like at that time, I got to the semifinals already in FPIA. And I was like, oh, I kind of forgot about this competition. I was like, oh, man, I guess I'll just do whatever I want. And I was like, I don't really want to do like the A set. Let me do like a little bit newer stuff I want to work on that I'm more excited about. And like after learning what's gonna happen, I'm gonna get talked to after. I'm like, oh fuck. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm not changing anything. I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go do it, have fun, and that helped me more.
Yeah.
That helped me so much more. And then they talked to me. It was all good things, and it was that was wild. And then I remember the second round was like you go up against another comic, and people clap for their favorite.
Really?
So it was like 2 pairs.
Oh my gosh,
it was insane.
it's brutal.
It was brutal. That was like the most brutal one. And the third one, and then I think after that it was like audience clapping or like judges. Each one was different, and I thought that was cool too.
Yeah.
It was interesting instead of just like silent judges at Cap City, just like
and at least they also recognized that they couldn't do it the same way as Cap City because especially by doing it at the same time as the Cap City contest, you kind of get into some, I don't know, ethical territory if you're going to exactly copy the Cap City model.
Oh, of course.
FPIA has been going on for 30 plus years.
Right. So. I like how it's 2 different kind of things too, because FBI was more like, it's industry based. They're the ones that are like kind of deciding who's winning, and then the other one was like the crowd.
Yeah.
It's just the crowd. The finals was judged like you can every piece of paper, like every table had a piece of paper, and you can only write down one comic you liked.
Yeah.
And I thought that was crazy. I was like, that's kind of a cool way to vote. That's a really cool way to do it.
Yeah.
So I liked how it was 2 different sides of it.
Yeah.
And the people versus the industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
The men,
Yeah. Wow.
The man.
That is one thing I did not love about the Cap City, the prelim rounds, that you had to, tabulate. You had to write down this ballot of up to 15 comics, and you couldn't make a mistake. And it's just have people do the top 3 because that's going to work out.
True. That is hard to remember.
They don't ask me.
It must be hard to remember all the comics at the end of the night. Like, especially if you're drinking, you're just like,
Exactly. That's what I was worried about. Is you got some drunk table and they're just like,
whatever. Makes it kind of fun.
I told you at the beginning that I'm a mathematician and very analytical. After the first night of prelims, where I just felt like I can't do this ballot, I legit created a Google sheet for myself with the competitor.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was really bad, outrageous behavior on my part.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, there we go. Know my secrets. Is there anything you want to know about the Austin comedy history that I can tell you?
I don't know. I feel like I've learned a lot. The old scene kind of took me in.
Yeah.
I'm part of it a little bit, and I guess one thing I've learned and noticed about them is it is like an alternative kind of comedy they do. Mm-hmm. It's not like just standard, just like set up punch jokes. Got this bit about this thing, got this chunk. They'll do more experimental stuff.
Yeah.
And they'll do more. It's more like performance over writing. I've noticed. Sometimes they just do funny voices. Mm-hmm. It's like a weird trend that's going on. And then I went one of the features this weekend. He was an old Austin guy. I think it was Mac Blake.
Uh-huh.
And I was I was like, oh, are people getting it from you? Like, were you one of the guys that?
He
like,
was one of the guys.
Yeah, I could tell because he's like an FPIA winner. Uh-huh. And I was thinking like, oh, this is like it's been going on for a while. Like Austin's been weird.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was interesting. Is that any of that right?
Yeah. No, you have Mac Blake, who's kind of that weird, but he's also like super improv experience. So I think that comes out. Some alumni of the Austin scene are like Martin Urbano, who's like super, super weird, experimental. He's up in New York now. And yeah, why can't I think of other weirdos? Well, there's several people that have left Austin to live elsewhere. But what I've heard recently is that now there's a whole bunch of Casey Rocket imitators. The people are trying to like match his energy and wildness, and I'm like, you cannot do that
in Austin.
That's what I've heard.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen any. Okay. I can't think. Maybe you're like I don't know because I don't. There's just so many new open micers I don't know. Yeah. I can't tell you. I'm not sure. There's other imitators of other people.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like there's definitely a small ecosystem that grew, and I've noticed a lot of people kind of do the same things. Yeah. I mean, there's like Hans imitators for sure. People that were doing short jokes and being shocking. That was like a big thing when I first moved here, and everyone was doing it. I started doing it a little bit too. I mean, the gaslighting joke is kind of like part of that as well. But there's still a weirdness lingering on. Like there's a couple Creek guys that are like that aren't conventional. That do like regular setup punch stuff. Even like Casey Rocket as well. That's super weird.
Yeah.
He's very weird. Yeah. So like, the weirdness still stays. There's something about this place that provokes that.
I think that's why he's had a level of success is because the old people, the classic, pre-pandemic Austin is like, oh, this reminds us of, some of the cool things we would see before the pandemic.
Oh, I bet,
and then, all the new people, they just love his energy and...
he's super unique and weird. And I love it. And there's a super great guy. Yeah. Great fucking guy.
Yeah. I interviewed him a couple months ago before the competition, and I had never seen him live. And that finals night was my first time, and I'm so happy that's how it worked out.
Yeah.
Because seeing him up there was like, oh my God, this is the best.
Oh, it's a whole experience.
Yeah.
Especially after seeing him a lot, and like now he's like a buddy of mine. Whenever I watch shows, I just watch people in the crowd of like them not getting it.
Yeah.
And then slowly just dying. Yeah. It's the best thing to see.
Yeah, it is. But as a general rule, don't copy other people. Be yourself. So.
Yeah. Be inspired, but that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go back and talk more about Jason. And so we've declared that you're not the producer show kind of guy. Mm-mm. You just want to be booked on shows.
Yeah.
And make your.
Yeah, I don't want to do any of the hard work. I just want to tell jokes.
Well, there's other people that are willing to do the hard work.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
It can all work as an ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I'll take it.
Yeah. Have you gone back to LA since LA has, or not LA, but, California since?
I went back home, and I went back to the club I used to work at, the Rec Room. I went back there. I haven't really done LA.
Yeah.
Every time I gone back, it's either like I'm hanging out with family, I do a couple spots, that's about it. I'm kind of in and out.
Yeah.
And it's just, so I don't really know LA. Everyone I talk to is just like, they don't say the best things. It just doesn't sound as fun as it used to be.
It's almost like this giant vacuum of talent left. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's obviously still talent there, but, you have a couple big names that leave. But I don't know.
Things changed. Things changed there.
How did you feel doing the mics with the experience that you had built up for yourself by performing as often as you did here?
Like going back there and doing stuff? Yeah, it felt great.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like just much more leveled up.
Yeah.
I could just feel it. I could feel it on me. Like the confidence is different. Like everything, honestly.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about this place is like you can just get up so much.
Yeah.
I was kind of confused by people that like came here and started, but I was like, might be the best place to do it because it's like you can get up easily.
Yeah.
You can get good pretty quick here.
It's crazy, the number of mics. I mean, before pandemic, so our calendar, our events page started in December of 2019. It was very manageable. Like I could do the entries. People could write me and say, hey, I've got a new mic starting, and I'd enter it for them. And then the pandemic happened. I'm like, well, I guess there goes our events page. And then people started showing up, and all these new mics showed up. And some people don't submit to us, which I don't understand, but whatever. So we're not even like, we're probably 90% of the available shows and mics that are out there. And I'm just like, I had to tell Richard, we both agreed, I can't. I have a full-time job.
Yeah.
I'm a parent. I can't do people's submissions and entries. It's just too much. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot.
There's like at least 3 or 4 mics a night, possibly.
Yeah, around there. That's like average.
That's nuts.
There was more. It got less lately.
Yeah, there's some kind of weeding out of.
Yeah, that just happens.
Yeah.
Some venues get sick of it. They're just like,
Yeah.
we're done with these people.
Yeah.
They buy 1 or 2 drinks and that's it. It's not enough.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but a lot of bar shows. A lot of
Yeah.
this indie shows. There's so many.
yeah.
So many. They all pay too. It's amazing.
that's wild.
It's amazing. You make money out here. It's crazy. This is perfect. I don't know. It's like we're in a good spot right now.
Yeah.
And I think next year is going to be even more. Next year is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
With just all the other clubs are going to open. It's going to be.
What do you mean all the other? Isn't there just one, or are there others being talked about?
There's others being talked about.
Okay, well, spill the tea because I.
Okay, well, ones I can definitely. Well, I mean, like Rogan's is happening.
Yeah.
It's like actually like you can see it
Yeah.
now. And then there's another one on 6th Street. You know the Sunset Room?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those guys. Yeah, they're opening a venue now
Ah.
on 6th Street, like above Voodoo Donuts or some shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something like that. And so they're opening a room. I think it's like 120 seater.
Huh.
It's the old Parish.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's coming. And then I heard of another club that's coming on 6th Street as
Oh my
well.
gosh.
That was like used to be a music venue, and now they're going to try to do comedy some nights. And I heard that's going to be legit. So you're going to have like 5-6 clubs
My
on
God.
6th Street. You know, and then the Creek around the corner. It's just
Yeah.
like it's insane.
Wow.
Yeah, and then once Rogan's opens and then these other clubs open, all the other rooms that do comedy, they need to step up.
Yeah.
They need to go. You know, Cap is fine. Cap's doing great.
Yeah.
But like say like the Spider House Ballroom, it's just like they might start doing way more comedy.
Yeah.
Because now this could be like a comedy tourist destination.
Right.
So that's why I think 2023
crazy.
is gonna be like what we all thought when we moved here was gonna be.
Yeah.
It's actually gonna happen now.
Wow.
That's it. I'm being wishful, you know.
Yeah.
You never know. Nothing's guaranteed, but that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Well, so I want to ask you, do you think that with a couple of more years under your belt that you would still stay in Austin, or do you think you would
I have
go?
to. I have to. I just think this will be the place for me for like maybe 2-3 more years, and then I'll decide. I always thought like I'm gonna go back to California to be with my family.
Yeah.
And just hack it out in LA. And every time I've been back there, it doesn't feel the same to me.
Yeah.
It's like I want to do like a lot of comedy, so it's like I might go to New York.
Yeah.
That might be the move.
Yeah.
But definitely I want to get a foundation here. I want to get like as much as I can out of this place.
Yeah.
I want to make a name for myself here. Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it's very possible for a lot of us to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, going back to I don't know why a bigger deal isn't made of it, you appealed to 2 very different audiences by advancing the way that you did with 2 very different competitions.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I think the magic formula for a lot of comics is if you can appeal to a wide variety of audiences, then that's part of your golden ticket.
True. Yeah.
So, kudos.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah. I'm kind of good.
Yeah.
I'm not bad.
Tell your friends.
Yeah.
Tell your mom and dad. we're going to start winding down. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
We talked a lot. I feel like,
we did.
the whole career.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't really know. Anything else you need to know about me or want to know?
No, I don't think so. Let's go. I'm going to pick from my grab bag of questions here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what do you love about being a performer?
The validation, I think. A lot of comics want to say, like, oh, I like making people laugh. I like doing it. No, I like people telling me I'm good at something.
Yeah.
I think that's...
Well, is that validation coming from the audience or from your peers? Or
both. You need
others?
both.
Yeah.
You definitely need both. Because, like, yeah, I have friends, like, that like, tell me I'm good, and, like, other people that aren't even, like, super close to me, but, like, other comics, having the respect of other comics is something you definitely need.
Yeah.
You need that just as much as you need to make people laugh.
Yeah.
I feel like, and get that respect too.
Yeah.
So I like the validation from both ends, because I never really, like, did anything. I was always afraid to do stuff growing up, and I just never really tried. And this is the first thing I actually, like, tried and wanted to do more, and wanted, like, and failed and wanted to keep doing it. So I think I mostly do comedy just out of, like, this is the thing I do. Like, this is what I'm good at. Like, this is the only thing. Like, so that's the 100% reason I like doing comedy.
Yeah. Well, people who find their thing early in their lives are lucky.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I mean, there's ups and downs, of course. But
It did take me a while. I didn't start till I was, like, 24.
yeah. Oh my God! Stop.
That's a good minute. I know you get people at 19, like, figuring things out.
True.
You know,
That's true.
people my age have kids and shit. You know,
Yeah.
they have families. They're normal. Like,
All right, and then on the flip side, what do you not like about being a performer?
the business of it, being nice to people you don't really want to. The social aspect bothers me a lot because I'm not a social guy, and that was a hard hump to get over, especially when I moved here and everyone's hanging out. And then when I kind of got over partying, because for me to hang out at, like, Creek or just any of these places, I have to drink.
Yeah.
Because I can't. I get too anxious and in my head, so I have to have something to drink. And then now I don't drink as much. Like, I will, like, on the weekends or something, but, like, for the most part, like, I don't really feel like drinking, and I can't hang. I just can't do it. I just leave. I go up and just leave, or if I'm not performing, I'm not gonna go. Like, why would I hang out somewhere?
Yeah.
It feels weird. That's one aspect I don't like, but that's a part of the thing. Like, you can get past that. Like, at one point, you don't need to just be a guy hanging out at the club.
Right.
You can just be the performer. And I think that's kind of where I'm getting at right now. And, like, I don't need to hang, which is great. Like, I don't always like it. It's hard for me.
Yeah. I mean, the irony of the fact that so many comics, and I don't mean to generalize about all comics, but so many comics come into this with so much social anxiety.
Yeah.
And then they put themselves in this situation where you have to be social because that's part of the business. That's part of,
Yeah, the hang. You got to do the hang. Network or whatever, but it's like, you got to hang. You have to do it, especially when you're first starting. Because you learn a lot. You learn a lot, too, and you have to make friends.
Yeah.
You have to make friends. But luckily, there's, like, so many different kinds of people that do comedy. Pretty easy to find people that you vibe with.
Yeah.
Especially if you're, like, an anxious guy, that you'll just find other anxious people. Or you'll link up with someone. I always end up having friends that are, like, really extroverted, and we pair up so well.
Yeah.
Because they can talk, and I'll listen, and I'll make them laugh, like, slowly, but, like, in certain parts. But it's always, like, a good combo.
Yeah.
Extroverted and introverted people.
Yeah, that's a good combo. That is a good combo. Okay. Well, Jason, we have reached the moment with my closing question.
Okay.
One word to describe your future.
One word. Exciting? Not boring? I wanted to say not boring, but I was like, that's 2 words.
You could do that. It's not like there's a rule book to this.
Okay, not boring. Not boring anymore.
That's great. Okay. Well, that is a wrap on Comedy Wham presents Jason
Awesome.
Rodriguez. Tell us where we can find you on social media and promote any projects.
Yeah, I'm Instagram, like everything, Jason_Smation, SMAYTION. It's a dumb username. please post it somewhere. Just have people read it so it's easier. Everything's that. Instagram, TikTok, Venmo is that. Everything is Jason Smation. So you can find me there and stuff, and like my things if you like.
I had this really funny thought because I'd watched you, but then as I'm preparing my research, I figured out, your handle and your website was this Jason Smation, and I had the goofiest thought in my brain because I don't know if you know Vanessa Gonzalez.
Oh, I do, yeah. She's really funny.
Major alumni of the Austin scene, and for the longest time, her handle and her website was Vanessa Comedy.
Yeah.
And when I saw yours, because she finally had to kind of,
she
toe
changed
the corporate line. It's Vanessa G Comedy now, very professional. But I'm like, I know one other person who had kind of the goofy handle at first, and then now she's big time.
I'm not changing it.
And she,
I'm never gonna change
well, I'm
it.
sure she didn't want to. But
I can't change it because people call me that. People know me as Jason Smation. People will just come up and call me that.
Oh my gosh! Do you get introduced on stages?
Almost. I did some years ago. I reached out to a booker to get on a show, and she put me on the flyer, Jason Smation. She thought that was my last name. So some people think that is my name, Jason Smation, and I don't know. It's like funny. I accidentally branded myself really well, and I have to keep it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep it. It's so stupid, but I don't care.
I feel you because I know who knows if it'll still exist by the time this episode goes out, but my Twitter handle and my Instagram handles are Super Meowie. And I have a lot of people that just call me Super Meowie.
Yeah.
So
it's like a new name.
It's great.
Yeah. It's a new nickname. You have to kind of just own it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm fine with it. I don't care.
Okay. Well, we hope you've enjoyed learning about how Jason got to be the comedic genius that you heard today just as much as I have. This has been Comedy Wham presents Jason Smation Rodriguez. I'm Valerie, and that's been funny. Thank you, Jason.
All right. Thank you. It was fun.